And welcome to the No Assembly Required podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing. Thank you for joining us this October night, Thursday, 8 p.m.-ish Eastern Standard Time, filmed in front of a live YouTube audience. And now your trio of hosts, starting with Witchy Romina. And your second host, Audrey Ember. And your third and final host, it's me, Roberto. Welcome to the Create Something. Why did I say Create Something last time? I was doing my podcast. Welcome to the No Assembly Required podcast. Please like and subscribe. Yeah, no, I've been doing so many shows lately. I'm now mixing them up. So that's my bad, guys. It's No Assembly
I just blew out my candle because I was laughing so hard.
No Assembly Pod tonight.
You guys see that? The candle just went out because I just huffed out my laugh.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I need to start the initiation again.
No, don't do that. What we need you to man the Twitter.
Wait, but I need a candle.
I can't even see notifications on Twitter right now.
You do not need a Starfleet candle.
I do need a candle. You don't understand, Roberto. If it's not on, then I'm not functioning. This is like this is the grail to my life. Do you understand?
Audrey,
as long as it's lit, I'm alive.
Audrey, I need you to be the adult in the room.
I'll blow out the candle from here.
Stop. You're going to make me laugh again. And it's going to go out again.
I need an adult.
All right. Roberto needs an adult, everybody. Roberto needs an adult.
I need an adult.
All right, guys. I'm here. I'm going to be managing all the things right now. I'm going to put my little dinosaur friends away.
We should have a Halloween episode.
And we
that
can have a Halloween
That could have been
episode.
the title of tonight's episode. I need an adult.
I mean, that's kind of the title of like all of our episodes, I feel like.
That's fair.
The subtext.
I am an adult.
Is yeah, I mean, we need an adult at all times. All right, I'm going to prepare the Twitter thing.
I can't even see notifications, dude.
Well, just because you can't see notifications doesn't mean that the rest of the world can't. Right?
What?
Who knows at this point?
Andy says, "Welcome to the I Need an Adult podcast."
Actually,
since we're changing the name of the podcast tonight, I guess it's pretty fitting. The I Need an Adult podcast. Guys, I just got a delivery of cookies. That's what just happened right now.
What?
Right. In the meantime,
Are you guys ready? I mean, look at this. This is,
Oh my god.
I don't think you guys. This is like maybe if I open this up, it's actually just a bunch of needles and sewing.
What?
You guys never had that? You know the like the tin where the tin cookies.
Oh yeah.
But you know, grandmas just kind of use it to put their stuff
That was
in.
my dad. He had
no,
one.
I actually get the cookies every time, or there are consequences.
Okay, Roberto, check your privilege.
No, I
Look at him coming
demand.
in here. He's
I
like,
demand cookies, and I will have them,
Oh my god.
wow.
or heads will roll. There will be consequences.
Wow.
That's not a threat; it's a promise.
Wait, so is Twitter actually down?
Ish. Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm gonna tweet while you guys can make fun of me for everything.
Wait, what does your shirt say? Hi, Canada. Are you Canadian, Romania?
Romania?
Romania. Did I just say Romania?
Yes, you
Oh
did.
my god. Whoops. Dude, I'm
Audrey's
so
broken.
tired.
Audrey's broken.
Oh my god. I've been getting up at like 5 for the past 2 or 3 days and going.
Is it because you're in like the wrong time zone?
No, I was helping a friend with the short film, and their times were just ridiculous.
Wow, that's like an early shoot time. That's an absurdly or
No,
just why?
It was sunrise because they wanted the sunrise light and the sunset light, so we were either up late or early, both for 2 or 3 days. I don't even know.
Jeez.
Yeah.
To get one shot?
No, for
Hey.
different scenes.
Roberto, you gotta do what you got. You know, baby's gotta do what a baby's gotta do.
No.
Guys, I haven't even been able to tweet yet. Are you guys going to talk, or am I going to have to fill up this?
Yeah. Like, all right. So, like, Audrey, like, we have a title for tonight's show and everything. Do you want to kick it off?
More. Hold on, let me read it. More observations, less criticism.
Way to just throw her under the bus.
It's kind of my fault for not being prepared, but okay. What does that mean? More observations, less criticism. I feel like we talk about this a lot, though.
Well, I mean,
People
we have
to just
every
mind their
reason
own
to.
business.
We have, I mean, we have every reason to. I mean, that's like we live in the world of the internet, which seems to have basically devolved into a cesspit of empty criticism from a bunch of soft, know-it-all keyboard warriors who need to know when to keep their damn mouth shut, because in the real world, someone would shut it for them. But that's just one man's point of view.
Yeah, I mean, true.
I'd
I
love
mean,
to
I
see
feel
some
like-
of these critics try their same shtick on any corner of downtown Atlanta that I could pick for them. I'd love. I'd be love to
Roberto's just
see.
going to pick an intersection.
Oh
He's
my
like, yeah,
God.
this corner right here looks pretty
This
good. He's going to
particular
throw a
corner.
dart.
All right,
on
this
a map.
particular corner. Here's your soapbox. Levy
Oh
your
my
criticism
God.
at all passersby, and they will gather to absorb and bask in your knowledge.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I
Oh,
feel
you know,
like-
I heard something. Sorry,
No, go
I'm
ahead.
going completely off topic. So,
Oh, that's cool.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Someone said this today, and I thought it was kind of weird. But they were like, "What if?" This is so random. What if instead of like, or what if ever like our world is inside of a cell of another living being? We just don't know.
Oh yeah, that's like a common like thought and theory, and it's like, okay, so what? It's kind of like the episode of Rick and Morty,
I mean,
where it's
true.
like-
It doesn't really matter,
like
I guess.
a microverse inside of a miniverse inside of our universe, and it's like, and it's all somebody just powering somebody else's battery and everything like that. And if like, what if we all are just powering whatever car battery God has or whatever? It's like that's like I mean, that was the kind of point of an episode of Rick and Morty, and it was like, I mean, it's like but so what?
True. That's true. I don't know why I thought about that, but for some reason I was like, what? Because it's the first time I heard it today.
Well, you know what they say. In the end, it doesn't even matter. That
True.
might literally be before your time, because Hybrid Theory just turned 20 years old today. Well, this week or month or whatever. Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park was released 20 years ago. I actually just, with my extra Amazon points, it almost covered the entire thing. I ordered the collector's edition for the 20th anniversary, which includes the vinyl and the CDs and a Blu-ray.
Dang.
Man, I freaking love that Amazon card. It's like having Christmas like every other order I do on Amazon.
It's an
'Cause
addiction.
just like,
Amazon's crack.
I mean,
Dude.
well, the thing is that like, you know, I'll order stuff and then the next order that I do, I have like almost all of it is completely free
Sure.
because of the
Good point.
cash back and,
Yeah,
and
the
points.
that 5% cashback's no joke. I'm down. Like,
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It's like, it's a great deal. I use cashback rewards for everything. I use anything I buy. I now, like, here's the thing. I use credit responsibly though. When I do grocery shopping, I do my in-app coupons or my discount card, and I also then put it on a 5% cashback credit card, which I immediately pay down, and it's free money. It's free money. I end up saving like a total of 15 to 20% on whatever I would have purchased by the time I'm done with all the hacks. Like, it's just right there. It's just right there. You could just save so much money.
You know, my Amazon account got hacked the other day.
Oh
What?
no.
And so I don't even know how this happened, but I got an email luckily from them saying like you purchased something, and I looked and it was like over $800 worth of just pots and pans.
Why?
And I was like, what the hell? And it's this random like obscure Chinese company that they're from. And so I had to cancel my credit card and then go and call Amazon and like have them aware that like, oh my god, it was such a mess. Yeah, that wasn't fun. That happened at like 11 p.m. at night, so I was worried they wouldn't answer me, but they did. So I don't know how I feel about Amazon right now. I don't know how they got into my account.
That's not Amazon's fault. That's
I
like
know,
somebody being a dick. Like,
but how now I'm like, oh god, now I have to go and change like all my passwords. I'm paranoid. I got another email this morning saying someone tried to get into my Acorns account, and I was like, what the heck?
Did you use the same password for everything?
Are
No.
you using the same email address?
Yeah.
That's probably it.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna make 20 emails for every.
No, you just have to
No,
separate
you just have a
financial.
few.
It's like
But
I
this was
said
my
when I told you
personal
about
email.
security.
Like, I don't put it anywhere online.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
it can
you do
be
if you're
when there's
making
a
accounts
leak.
with it.
Well, yeah.
When there's a leak, when there's a security breach, not because you put it online, but because somebody's database gets breached, that's a different thing. That's why you need to have an email for your social media accounts that's separate from an email for your financial accounts. That's the big thing, is like having that. That separation is super, super important. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, I have an email that's just for my personal stuff that doesn't even have my name. Like it has a random name on it. It's very anonymous. And that's the same like that I use for my usernames and stuff for like bank accounts and anything that's personal like that, like that contains sensitive information. And then I have another email that's just for social media, for social networks. So that if, Twitter gets hacked, then other accounts don't get compromised. It's just my social media that will probably get compromised, but not like sensitive stuff,
Yeah.
Yep.
I need to like figure out how to a software for all my passwords and stuff. I think.
I use
1Password.
Dashlane.
Which one's better?
I ain't never heard of that.
Oh, Dashlane's really good.
I'm sure it is. It sounds dashling.
Oh my god.
No, guys, I'll be here all week.
Wait, this is kind of a random question, Roberto, maybe you know, but like my old email is still in the description of like all my old videos. Like I've updated it now. Does that mean I have to go back to every single video and change the description with my email? Because that's going to be really annoying.
Wait, what do you mean?
Because like I have my old business email that I don't use anymore for like YouTube and stuff. Linked like in the description of all my old videos.
So why don't you just use TubeBuddy to remove it?
TubeBuddy, can you remove it from like specific ones?
What do you mean?
You just, like after a certain date, like a
okay. So the way
you just do a search for the email. You just do a search for whatever text you want to remove, and you remove it.
With TubeBuddy, you do a find replace on just the single line of text, and you can either remove it or replace it with whatever you want.
Yeah, you can do that for all of your videos, like a bulk edit.
I did that recently and updated like a couple hundred affiliate links.
That's way better. I'm gonna definitely do that.
Oh yeah, it's like I'd rather spend 3 minutes on it than spend like 3 days on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to do that. Oh, it's just annoying. I don't know. And scary because this hasn't happened to me before. So
well, it sucks that happened.
Yes, it does. And like
they better
usually they can take care of all that for you. And like as far as
when did this happen, Audrey?
Like 2 days ago.
You should already have the money back.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Well, it hasn't charged to my card yet.
Ah, I see.
Okay.
So I think that's why they're waiting, because I guess it needs to charge first before they can contest it, because it's like pending or whatever.
Yeah, it probably won't go through because it probably won't get through fraud. It probably won't get through the fraud thing, so you're probably fine there.
But it's shipped. Like my parents are gonna get some pans in the mail, and I was like, you might just want to keep those and return them if they ask me to, because like I don't know what the hell they ordered. And they're shipping them to Atlanta too, so it's like my parents are gonna get a surprise. It's like
Are you
it's
sure
so
your
open.
parents didn't order it by mistake?
No.
Using your account.
It was like 1 a.m. in Georgia, and it was like a ton of pans.
I don't know.
I don't
You know,
think
people do weird things when it's 1 o'clock and they're on the internet.
Well, I've asked anyway. No.
They might just be ordering pans.
Just like a ton of pans, like way
Hey,
too many.
you can never have too many pans.
Yeah. Oh no. Like, just like a set of like 30, dude. Like what? Maybe not a lot.
What's wrong with Bitly links?
What do you mean?
Well, Andy in the chat says, I use Bitly, but I've heard from some people that they're worried about clicking on those links.
Maybe it's because they just look weird.
I think that has the most to do with it.
But they've been around for so long. I feel like most people who are on the internet are familiar with the link shorteners.
That's possible.
Some people just don't know. You could, or they might just not even realize that it's a reoccurring like Bitly thing. They might just see this random link with a bunch of, they kind of look weird, like with all the letters and stuff after them that are random.
No, you customize them.
Are all of them customized?
You can. I mean, if you don't customize them, that's on you, because it's not going to cost you any extra money to customize them. You just put Bitly and then you put, Audrey's Amazon. And then it doesn't have to be a bunch of random numbers and letters and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I get what the Andy San is saying, though. I feel like some people just are less comfortable clicking on them.
I feel that way, and that's a lot of like why even with all the other affiliate programs out there, I feel like Amazon is the best because people trust it, even though Amazon has multiple freaking problems and shortcomings as an affiliate. Which is a lot of it is the fact that it's very difficult to feel secure as a creator with Amazon because they don't really have like an appeals process whenever they say you're doing it wrong and stuff like that. They also are very vague about like things when they tell you you're not doing the policy right. They don't tell you the specifics or tell you a specific place where you're doing it wrong or and whatnot. And they just kick people out a lot of times for no reason. Like there's so many creators who have complained about how Amazon's affiliate program works, but they also are afraid to speak up or speak out against it because then they feel like they won't be able to be in the program in the future if they criticize it or complain. And so they don't. And then it's just a lot of people not being like, you'll hear gripes about it on Twitter, but people will not make a video about like everything wrong with the, which by the way, I'm going to make a video about it. Like they won't make a video about everything wrong with the Amazon affiliate program. And I feel in general, a lot of creators are afraid to make videos about everything wrong without coming like, but you can do it in a way where you're like not sour grapes or not, bitching and moaning about it. It's fine. Like
sour grapes.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, to be very real, I mean, I've been kicked out of the affiliate program before, and I was making like $1,500 a month when that happened at the time.
Amazon specifically?
Yeah, specifically Amazon. I was making like $1,500 a month, so like, or more. And so I lost like 20 grand a year of an income with Amazon, which is like when people say,
why did you get kicked out?
There was like, all right, first of all, they had a problem even in contacting me to correct the email because they thought that they were doing like, hey, we gave you plenty of time to correct this. Is like, I proved to someone in the phone support that like, I proved that you guys were not able to reach me via email, and you've said, yep, sure enough, we can't seem to get these emails through to you, and so you didn't get those emails. Okay, so we know that there's that. And then two, it's like, well, I fixed the thing you said to be in compliance, meaning there was a way that I was phrasing something in my YouTube descriptions that they didn't agree with. Even though I was disclosing, they didn't like, it seemed like it, from their point of view, incentivized clicking on the Amazon links when I was just pointing out that it supports the channel, which is the way I was choosing to disclose it. Is like, yeah, it's when you support the channel, when you use these links, you're supporting the channel. Like, duh. And so it wasn't worded to their exact liking in terms of a disclosure. So, but I used TubeBuddy and I did find replace, and I corrected it on like 600 damn videos in the blink of an eye and said, well, it's fixed now, so let me back in the program. And they were like, well, no. And I'm like, Son of a, yeah. So, I mean, and that was like 2 or 3 years ago. And it really actually, not only was it the loss of that money, but it just like, I loved making tech videos, whether I made money off the affiliate program or not. But I just connected in my head making tech videos to Amazon doing that to me and losing that money. And so, like, psychologically, it was really hard for me to get excited ever about making a tech video again. And so, like, Amazon completely.
Yeah, that must be really discouraging. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't.
They
Oh,
killed an entire category of my YouTube channel by just
right,
psychologically making me feel like
right,
nothing.
right.
Because there was nothing I could do. There was no appeal process. The employees tried to do everything they could to help me. They said, "Hey, you were right, and like we get it." And it's like, but there's no appeal process, and there's nothing to be done. I had personal friends who are pretty substantial YouTubers who had connections with Amazon even go to bat for me, and they couldn't reverse the decision. I had to be invited to the Amazon new influencer program to be able to be an Amazon affiliate again. And I never got to a point of making that kind of money again because I was so discouraged on tech videos that I just didn't bother with it. Like, and I love tech, you know that, but I just never ended up doing that on
Yeah,
the channel for years because Amazon got in my head and discouraged me from making a type of content because they like took
yeah. I mean,
that
it's kind of like
they
like a
yeah
door was shut.
yeah, they shut a door and it felt like a rejection.
Hmm.
Have you mentioned this in your videos before?
I've been planning to make a video about it. And I
Because I
think
feel
that
like I got kicked out of Amazon affiliates.
well, the title
Would
is going to be everything wrong with the Amazon affiliate program. Like I'm
Well, but I mean a personal video talking about that would be kind of
um
cool. I'm talking not
maybe.
from a monetization or a strategic standpoint, but more so as a um
Mm.
because you've overcome an obstacle, you know?
That might be good for the Real Talk with Roberto channel.
Yeah. I just think it's a good story to put out there, because it's not all rainbows and butterflies,
I mean,
right?
other people
Because you
might
think like,
relate.
right,
Huh?
exactly. The other people might relate.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you think like, oh my gosh, I just joined the affiliate program. Like this is great. This is perfect.
Well, for
But you
me, it
never
was
think
great,
like
and I
I'm
was
going
a
to
big
get kicked
advocate
out.
for it. I was one of the
Yeah.
biggest advocates for Amazon affiliate and what it does for creators and how it's a great opportunity. I still advocate for it even with my bad experience quite often. And I tell people how to make the most of it and how to make some good money on it, even though I haven't for a while. I make a few $100 on it a month, so I'm not complaining too hard or nothing. But I just feel like they did not put a system in place. If people think YouTube doesn't listen to creators or they think that YouTube doesn't respect creators or that doesn't do enough for creators or YouTube is the company out of every creator centric major platform or entity is the one that does the most for creators. I'll die on that hill, and they listen the most to creators and they
Mm-hmm.
actually take feedback, they take criticism when it's actually constructive, and unfortunately they take criticism sometimes when it's not constructive, which I resent and where I think they should be more firm. But I know that they're trying to be perceived in a certain way and they're trying to say, I hear you. But sometimes they listen to the wrong people, to be very real with you, or they listen to the vocal minority sometimes. And it's a shame. But Amazon doesn't listen to content creators and it doesn't feel like they're invested in us, and they have no appeal process, they have no dialogue, and they seem to have no interest in having a dialogue with creators and affiliates. And they I heard they from resellers that they treat them like crap too. From the Amazon FBA people, I hear they treat them like crap, and the Amazon FBA makes up like what 75% of Amazon sales. So like um they treat the Amazon sellers like crap. They treat content creators in their influencer and affiliate program like crap. And it's a shame because I actually love Amazon and I constantly defend Jeff Bezos and I constantly promote Amazon. But they're great in terms of fanatical customer service. They're not good in terms of supporting people who support them and help those transactions happen.
Yeah. This guy says, do you think that Spotify will eventually have video hosting and compete with YouTube?
Yes, it's inevitable. I have a video planned on it. It's an industry commentary video. I'm going to be talking about the Cold War between Spotify and YouTube because it's happening. They're the one platform that can actually freaking do it. Everybody's always YouTube compared to like Spotify is the only company that I believe can actually, because they did it right by not declaring themselves a YouTube competitor. They did it right by becoming a household name, and they're slowly acquiring and poaching talent from you. Here's all right. All right, I want to have this conversation with both of you.
They don't have any video yet, do they?
Yeah, they do.
They do.
They do?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And that's why Joe Rogan and some other stuff.
So the
Charli
idea with Joe
D'Amelio.
Rogan is that they're going to be able to put up their video component of their podcast on there as well. So if you go through, there's various songs that will have the video component to them.
Yeah.
And some of them have even longer videos.
And some of and there are podcasts as well, and there are people getting deals.
I mean, the easiest thing is just posting an entire music video and posting a bunch of music videos. I mean, already you're dominating in an industry that gets
a category,
millions
the biggest
and
category
billions
in
of
YouTube
views.
by itself. The biggest category in YouTube and the most popular videos that have ever existed on YouTube are all music videos.
Music videos, yeah.
There's not a single top video, like out of the top 20 videos on YouTube, every single one of them is a music video. Almost none of them are music videos from creators, by the way, but every single one of them is a music video. And people think that, oh, creators make YouTube and stuff like that. It's always been mainstream media and clips and freebooting of television and movies that has always made YouTube for the average consumer. The YouTube community is like the 100 million people subscribed to PewDiePie. YouTube and the average consumer base is the 2 billion people that log into the platform every month that outnumber the community 20-1. And no one likes to accept that as true, that normies dominate YouTube because it was kind of a niche internet-y thing for a very long time. And that may be its roots and its core, but like people are naive as hell. But I want to talk to you guys about the Spotify thing. Cause remember when we've talked about why no one can compete with YouTube? Like, what were the reasons? And what were all of the reasons why, well, no one can compete with YouTube when we were like talking about that?
Because they're not owned by Google.
Yeah, and everything's connected.
Okay, well, that was part of it, but like it was a couple of things. No search engine and no algorithm.
Bandwidth, right?
Yeah, Google.
And bandwidth. But guess what? Spotify has the infrastructure, straight up. Spotify has the infrastructure and the bandwidth because there's more music streaming than there is YouTube video, like, because music is so, again, it's the smaller files, sure, but they have the infrastructure and they have the bandwidth, right? The other thing was search engine. Spotify actually does have a pretty decent search functionality, unlike anything, any other platform. Every other platform's search functionality is garbage. You can't tell me that Spotify doesn't have a good search functionality.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And it has an algorithm. It has a really good algorithm in terms of curating and knowing your songs and your preferences and all of that and everything like that. It does user behavior and machine learning. It's the audio version of YouTube already. The other reason no one could compete with YouTube, we said, was because YouTube wasn't like there was nothing else like YouTube for the most part that was a household name. Spotify for sure is a household name, and it's got like almost a decade or so or more of being a household name, which was one of the qualifiers you need to compete with YouTube, and it's 15 years of dominance, but it's 10 or so, it's 5 to 10 years of being normalized. Spotify has the same years of being a household name with normies that YouTube has. And then one of the final things in this puzzle was, okay, no big creators will move over to another platform. Spotify's killing it with creators moving over to Spotify and doing a lot of things, whether it's their music or their podcast. So the thing is, Spotify, you can already find stuff from David Dobrik, Joe Rogan, I think Mr. Beast
ASMR.
ASMR
There's a
stuff is
ton
out
of
there.
ASMR artists who have all of their stuff on Spotify.
And you already have the collective of all the musicians and mainstream celebrities, just like YouTube did with music videos, to be able to get into mainstream celebrities and all that stuff. So Spotify was quietly making moves to be YouTube but audio. And the thing is, just saying, hey, we're adding video is pretty easy, considering YouTube went and did YouTube Music and went, hey, we're just adding music. So it works in reverse. That's all it is. And they're poaching, and they got the money to poach talent, because remember, it was, they have
And
Google's
the credibility.
billions of dollars of cash and credibility and bandwidth and technology. Spotify has the engineering talent, which I always said was a thing. Spotify 10x their money by getting Rogan. Like just like that, with one signature and one fell swoop. They're about to get Howard Stern. There's they tried to get Joe Budden's.
Dang.
They
freaking
got Dixie.
Spotify is the crouching tiger, hidden dragon.
I didn't even really realize that that's what they were doing, but now that you pointed out, it makes
this
perfect
is
sense.
This is why I'm making my commentary video. The Cold War. I've more than this. I've got a whole damn fucking.
It's been a long, but it's been a quiet one up until now.
That's why I say it's the Cold War. They've been building up their arsenal. They've been building up their armaments this entire time.
Yeah, they have some cool stuff, like as far as video is concerned, where they'll have the video playing with songs, and then they'll also explain, like it'll be like an introspective piece on how the artist created the song, or why they created the song, or like the process, the music and the audio engineering.
The docu,
Which that means music videos are going to be focused more in portrait mode then. Right?
Not necessarily. It means that they might have multi orientations, and it might mean that
they already have, there's specific music videos that are shot, and Billie Eilish has a couple of these that are in vertical specifically for Spotify.
Yeah.
And it's a different rendition of the widescreen, the horizontal.
I guess if you're a bigger artist, you could afford to do both.
TikTok is normalizing that. Mainstream artists can afford to do that, but content creators might do both. Content creators might either shoot and plan their music videos. They might do it that way, or just make two of them to have the leverage. Because I could see content creators doing that, but I think that TikTok has normalized the whole idea of watching a music video experience in vertical.
Yeah.
TikTok's also changed the music licensing game.
Yeah. It's, easy. I don't want to say easy, but there's
so
many people
I think
blow up on TikTok all the time for their music. You get in the carts, and then they get contacted.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Luca Boy is bringing up a point about Spotify censoring Joe Rogan. It's a publicly traded company, and they gave him $100 million. I think, frankly, anyone hands you $100 million, you do whatever the F they say. And people can call it censorship or not. People can call it censorship or not, but it's everybody here, I think their price is $100 million. Sorry. I just think that's true. I'm pretty sure my price is probably $100 million. I didn't think anyone could beat my price, but Spotify probably could. Spotify could do it. And that's, $100 million sounds like a pretty decent going rate for your soul right now. So
I think it's all right. Yeah. It's pretty modest.
I'm just saying that's, but and I get that some people are sensitive to it, but it's most of those podcast episodes already got the listens that they were going to get. They already got the downloads they were going to get. They already got the views that they were going to get. And the archive living on YouTube for however long that lasts. Some people will probably re-upload it. The clips exist on YouTube. I don't really care if Joe Rogan doesn't get to do every damn fool thing he wants to do on Spotify. I know some people are really sensitive about it, but it's he took $100 million. It's called, you do your damn job. Most of the working class people, I remember when I had a job, I didn't have free speech when I had a job. I had an employer, and if I said something they didn't like, it was called, you're fired. I remember in school, I didn't have free speech. It's called, you say something the school doesn't like or agree with, you're suspended, you're expelled, you get detention.
Yeah.
Like, people want to like sit here like free speech means that you can say whatever you want, or you should be allowed to do and say anything you want, as long as it isn't fully straight up illegal or treasonous and
No
everything like that.
repercussions.
Anybody with power or leverage over you can offer you consequences for the things that you say. That's just how it is. And that's true in real life. And that's not called censorship. Censorship is when the government does it. When you take money and someone says, you can't do everything you want because I'm paying you, that's not called censorship. That's called doing your damn job. Don't take their money then. You want freedom? He could have had freedom. Joe Rogan was making $30 million a year. Joe Rogan was making $30 million a year. Is anybody here making $30 million a year? Are we really going to be that upset and we're going to be so enraged that somebody decided to stop going from $30 million a year to take $100 million up front and that there were strings attached?
Audrey's just blinking very slowly.
Is there anyone here who's like going to take that $100 million and say, screw the strings, put the strings on? I'm like, I'll take the $100 million. Like, I mean, are we really going to pretend that's not how people are? Are we really going to pretend that? I don't know. That's just one man's point of view.
In an ideal world, no, but that's not the case.
All right, Audrey. I think this is a good question for you. All right. Let's say you got $30 million right now. You can only make content for TikTok. Oh yes or no?
Oh my God. My soul, though.
Well, for 5 years.
Okay, fine. We're going to put a time limit to it.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
These contracts have a time limit, so that's
okay,
realistic.
All right, fine. It's less fun.
Yeah, I'd do that.
All right.
It's a non-compete.
What about 10 years?
It's a non-compete. It's just like, they don't do 10 years. They don't do years. It's like 3 to 5 years non-compete. Because you know that,
I'm trying to make
you know that, Romina. Well, I have to make it reasonable and legal.
I want to make stuff longer than like 2.5 minutes.
It has to be reasonable and legal, Romina, because you know from being in Hollywood, you know how those non-compete contracts literally are. And I'm trying to also
I don't care about legal.
Educate people here. It's like you have a non-compete contract where you may not be able to be on the air for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. That's usually how it works. And you might have a lock-in of exclusivity for the duration.
Okay, fine.
Of your
8 years.
No, 8
Dude,
years.
but I love YouTube though. I don't know. That would like,
$30 million, Audrey.
Okay, $30 million for 5 years. You can only post on TikTok.
I'd do it. Because then I know I could make stuff whatever I want for like ever. And post it on YouTube. If I'm not dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Michael B says that he turned down a $200K a year job guarantee for 5 years to have the freedom to work with who I want and make what I want. That's cool, Michael. And if you have leverage, you can do that. And I applaud you and congratulate you. But there must be a reason why Joe Rogan, and he knew there would be strings. And like, I think he either is pretending not to know, or maybe he's being disingenuous to the audience. Like, he said that nothing about the content was going to change with him taking $100 million from Spotify. I don't know why anyone would believe that.
Yeah. I feel like he's just saying that so that his audience, like, they feel like he's on their side, you know? Like, he didn't want this to happen, but he definitely probably knew.
They're probably, like, I mean, here's the thing. To be very real with you, they could be very well... I mean, people would think Joe Rogan's above this. They could be manufacturing the whole controversy in one way or another. Even if Joe's not aware of it, they could be manufacturing the controversy.
Luca, yeah, but $100 million just flat there in your lap is not the same as 30 million. He's saying he did not take 100 million to work for Spotify. He was already making 30 million a year. That's what Luca just said.
No, like, all right, making 30 million a year as an independent through multiple streams of income and being on YouTube primarily as the largest source of all of that is very different than getting $100 million bag from Spotify. The amplification of what they do for the brand, we don't know this for sure, but he probably also got some stock options, to be very real with you. We don't know that for sure, and I don't know, like, but I would imagine I would imagine so, which means that even in taking the deal, if he got the stop options, depending on when they go effective, he would have like
Right.
10x'd any of the money on the stock options just like that. So
Yeah, I
and
think
the
it's
thing
more
is, he
about a
probably
sense
wasn't
of
in,
security. I mean,
even if they
it's
didn't give him stocks, he was already probably invested, just
right,
not in such a degree they would have to declare it to the FCC for a
right,
conflict of like, I mean, so you guys have to remember, it's not like he was making 30 million from YouTube. He was making 30 million from multiple streams, and he still gets to keep the JRE clip show on YouTube, keeps the
right.
archive of the podcast on YouTube, which means he's still going to make all that money, and he gets an extra 100 million on top of that. And
Right.
he still probably gets to do all of his sponsors and brand deals, and they probably bring more sponsors to the, like, you guys are overestimating the YouTube revenue side of that. The YouTube revenue side of that whole deal was probably like 10 mil. I broke this down in a video. The YouTube side was probably 10, 15 mil of that. So you guys have to understand, he got to keep most of the money he was already making and got $100 million on top of that for exclusivity and licensing.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
pretty
you get
good.
to keep your 30 million, you get to keep your multi tens of $1 million that you're making, and you get 100 million on top of that.
I'd do it for a quarter of that.
I know, right?
You guys, to be honest.
Like, they could have all the freaking editorial, like, whatever. Like, that's just too much money. I'm sorry. I know people like to believe, oh, my freedom, my freedom, my freedom, my freedom. Maybe people have done it for lesser amounts of money. It's easier to walk away from lesser amounts of money.
I'll give up my freedom for that.
There's a lot I would give up. 100, like, I'm sorry, 100 million is my price. I'm sorry, it
100
is.
million is my freedom.
That is my price. I'm going to turn 100 million into $1 billion. My kids will never want for nothing. My kids will never compromise. My kids will never have to sell out when I have kids. My grandkids will
Audrey
never
is
have
still
to sell out.
concerned that she's sold out to this 5-year contract that we've signed her
Please,
up to.
3 years of being a sellout, or some people on the internet being mad
5
at
years,
me, and my
Roberto.
kid,
Our
5 years,
contract with her is
5
5 years.
And my kids and my grandkids will never be beholden, will never have to bend the knee. I can literally send them to the same schools and be with the wealth and the privilege of kings and queens and princes and everything like that. Sign me up for 3 to 5 years of being a sellout. 100 million bag, I'll take it. People, the internet can be mad.
Wow.
So Audrey doesn't like sellouts.
No, I didn't say that.
I'm just trying to create conflict.
I know you are.
I'm sus. Oh, speaking of sus, Roberto, how did you enjoy playing Among Us for the first time?
Ooh.
I loved playing Among Us.
It's fun, isn't it? It's
I
a little
can see
addicting.
the
How long did you
You're
guys
good-
end up
you're
playing
good
for
at
after I
what-
left?
Like maybe another, what? We played for like another hour after Romina left.
Mhm. We played
Pretty good.
until Roberto got imposter, and then he died like immediately.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. I was I didn't play the long game on it like I should have. I also play, when I play with friends, I've decided on an interesting condition for myself. Of when I have to defend myself, I won't lie.
I see.
I will, like, because you can still subvert people without lying if you are so inclined. And so I just think it's an interesting exercise. It's an interesting mental exercise to have to defend yourself in Among Us without actually lying.
It didn't work the first time.
It almost did. The only thing is the evidence was too big. The evidence was too big.
No.
They were fine. Everyone was fine with my reasoning. The evidence was too big. If there had been even one less shred of evidence, they would have let me pass. At least for round 1.
And plus, we needed more people. We were only like 6 people, so it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, if it had been like 9 or 10 people, I would have gotten away with that first round for sure.
If it wasn't for those meddling kids.
But I think Among Us is great. It's blowing up because of quarantine, and people just want to have an excuse to talk to friends.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like playing werewolf, but
Yeah,
It's like that, or it's like playing
Clue?
It's like Among Us is like, yeah, Clue. It's like a whodunit. It's like a whodunit.
What do you guys enjoy more? being the crewmate or being an imposter?
I feel like imposter is kind of stressful, not gonna lie. It's fun though. Like I like playing it with more people because when there's like two, you can kind of like coordinate a little bit sometimes, and it gets really fun. But when it's only you by yourself, I feel like it's kind of overwhelming.
I think it's too stressful when you're the only imposter. I like it when it's two imposters. And like if there was another imposter, I feel like I would have had more room for benefit of the doubt if there was another imposter and more crewmates. So I prefer the bigger games. I like the bigger games.
It's also fun to see the other imposter and seeing how they try to get away with stuff.
Yeah. I want to like coordinate more games of Among Us with YouTubers that are like, you know, at our level, like, because the mega YouTubers are getting all the fun and getting all the buzz off of it and everything like that. And I see the same thing even with like Mr. Beast tournament, which I love watching those things, like with him with the creator games. I even like what Logan Paul did with his sporting event thing for charity, and even with his giveaway for the Pokemon cards for charity. I like that stuff, but here's the thing. I feel like anyone less than 1 million subscribers is left out like all the time from these things, because people like they do these things and they do the charity and they do it, but they also do it for a lot of clout and they always make their money back. And it's like, and they know that because they know that million sub creators will have fan bases and people talk about it and people will make reactions and so on and so forth. But it's not like people with like 50 to 500,000 subscribers don't have freaking fan bases and audiences, and if they collaborated, like there wouldn't be some attention. So like I feel like I want to, in a way, and I'm not making a formal announcement or anything like that, but it's gonna take me a minute because like I have too many things I'm doing. I need more people on my team and I need to make more money to make certain things happen, to throw money at things. But I want to step into the role of doing some of the fun things that Mr. Beast does with the creator community, but for the mid-tier creators, because I feel like you shouldn't have to have a diamond or gold play button to be a part of something. And I know I can't open it up to everybody all willy-nilly, because also the reality is to make these things work and also to be able to afford to raise the money for charity and do stuff, it's got to be creators that have some disposable income. So I feel like, you know, aside from personal friends of mine like you guys, I feel like 50, 100,000 to 500,000 like mid-tier creators, people who are macro influencers instead of mega influencers, because mega influencers are everybody over 1 million. You know, macro influencers are the people at the, you know, like 50 to 500 plus tier, and like 50,000 to 500 plus tier. And I feel like, okay, fine. It's like, you know, like silver level creators. It's not like we don't get millions of views a year and like we don't pull fan bases, and there are people who support us and will support our charities and also will just watch us do fun and have fun together and do stuff. And a lot of us are the ones who speak at the conferences. The mega creators don't speak at conferences. It's mostly a lot of us macro people. So like even people that are micro influencers and niche creators, we go to the events, we participate, we go to things even just as attendees a lot of the times when the bigger people don't. So like I feel, and there's nothing against those people and they're very connected to their communities in their own way, but I just feel like we need something for ours instead of always wondering and thinking, okay, we've got to get 1 million subscribers, otherwise there's like no way gives a crap about us. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I think it's good to have like a nice mixture of because you bring something different, you know.
Yeah,
it's a different kind of crowd.
Just gaming people either.
What's that?
It doesn't even just have to be like gaming people, you know.
Well, I'm
No,
saying
just
Mr.
people
Beast stuff
who
is
want to play.
it's not always gaming people. I'm saying he brings creators together, but it's always creators of a certain size.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to backtrack for a second because Michael said something that I want to bring up and say stuff about. He said, is it terrible that I want my kids to have to fight for things at least a little? Seeing how my fiance is after getting everything, that worries me actually. I think that there's a fine line of getting everything and fighting for things. You can make life a little bit easier for them without the entitlement that's attached to it. I think there is value in teaching the work ethic and teaching the value of $1, but you can still make things easier for them in their path. And if you can help them to elevate them to be even greater, then I think overall you're just contributing to humanity as a whole, because you're giving them a step up, a leverage, guiding them towards something that could be positive to a larger group of people.
My kids, when they come, will have enough challenges, like, and this is not like a PC thing or nothing like that. It's just that, like, the reality is my children will be, Black, Latino, and whatever else they have, and they will always have challenges because they will have to reconcile the different aspects of their ancestry, culture, and identity with the way that the world perceives them or judges them or stereotypes them or lumps them into different things. They will likely, if they're anything like most of the family, inherit the creative gene, and they will always be judged as outcast and freaks and weirdos. If I can limit their battles, to the internal reconciliation of their own inner conflict and the way that they're perceived in the world, they don't need any other external challenge on top of that. Assuming that they're fully healthy and don't have any physical challenges to overcome, they don't need any other challenges. And beyond that, in the way that I choose and the way that I mentor people, I think having me as a parent would be challenge enough. In the, like, to be very real with you.
Yeah, I don't want you as my dad.
Well,
I thought
I'll take Audrey as my mom.
Weren't you just on a podcast asking me to adopt you the other day?
what?
Yeah, but that was only when I knew how much money you were going to give me as an allowance.
Oh my god! Wow, Romina. Priorities.
I don't
listen. I don't want to be one of Michael's kids. I don't want to have
Mike
to fight.
says that, like, he came from extreme poverty and his dad spends money on himself, and that's why I think, for me, I can't tell you how to live your life and situation, Michael, but, like, the thing is, I don't want things to be as hard for my kids as they were for me at all. And I also have no interest in things being as hard for my kids as they were for my parents and my grandparents when they came to this country. I have no interest in that. And I have no interest in I want my children to be kind and thoughtful and smart and to have strong character. I don't need them to be strong and hard and, like, super fierce. I need them to be good, because they'll have power and they will have money and what some people might think of as privilege, even though they'll have several other disadvantages for no good reason. They're in the way that they're judged or perceived, not just off of their heritage and their ethnicity, but also
I'll judge them just because they're your kids.
They'll be judged because they'll be, like, think about you, like, if you have a successful parent, you're in the shadow of your parent. You're in the shadow of your parent. I already have a younger brother who struggles with the my brother, I mean, I don't talk about this, and I'm not putting his business out. My brother struggles with feeling like he's in my shadow and that he has to live up to everything that I've done instead of and he, as much as he wants to be independent and forge his own path, he can't psychologically in many ways escape the shadow of a successful older sibling. That's gonna be infinitely harder for children. Like I look at people who come from legacies and I don't envy them. I grew up with a friend who's a legacy when I was in North Carolina for what it was, and he did very much, in many ways he became his own man in some aspects, but in many other ways he accepted his role as his father's son and carrying on a lot of the stuff with the family. And there's, like, I have no interest in my children's mettle being tested by certain levels of external conflict, nor being limited in their potential by what a lack of money does to you. Because if my parents had been able to invest in my abilities and my talents the way they would have liked to, I would be infinitely more successful, more powerful, and would have helped 100 times more people. I would be doing bigger and better things than any of you can imagine, because I don't have I even right now do not have the capacity to fulfill the ambition that I have right this second. And Audrey and Romina know me well enough to know a lot of my plans and what I'm talking about, and I just don't have the capacity. But if I had had the kind of money to have put me ahead even just 10 years ago, you guys have no idea how many things I would have already built and how big they would be and how much good I could do.
People
It's
would be
absurd.
tweeting about you.
Yeah. They'd
People
be
would be
probably
tweeting
whining
about you.
me like they are about Bezos, to be real.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to be like, people are going to be asking you for handouts.
It would have been a thing, but like my kids can fulfill that kind of potential in their own way, whether they want to follow the grand plan that I've outlined for our legacy, or whether they have plans of their own to add to it or to go a different way. And if they do, that's great, because I can just pick a successor for my grand plan. It doesn't have to be my kids, but it can be whoever wants to carry on my legacy, whoever wants to pull Excalibur. Actually, that's a lie, because Excalibur is not the sword and stone, it's Caliburn. But whoever wants to pull Caliburn, the sword that chooses the king, then they can do that, you know, and whoever that is, you know, long may he or she reign. I'm about giving someone the ability to say, what would happen if I took away your limits? What would happen if I gave you the capacity to fulfill your true potential? What could you do? Because the world will test you. I don't need to create limits for you. The world will do that.
I'm gonna switch it up here for a second. Audrey, what do you think about all of this? What would you do with your children? Let's say you did score that $30 million deal with TikTok.
I think it's just important to have a balance. Like, I don't know, just making sure that they understand. Because one thing I've seen with some like kids whose parents have a lot of money is that they're very unaware of their privilege, which I think is a pretty big problem, because I don't know, they're just overall more arrogant, and they're not as hard workers, and that can impact their like whole
Do you
life.
feel that's money or the way they're raised?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I feel like,
think
is
it's a
that a
combo.
money problem or a?
Because I think sometimes money can be seen as like a salute, like, you know, it can kind of take over sometimes. If say you have like a spoiled kid and they've never had to work, or like their parents have never, I don't know, I feel like sometimes money can get in the way of like enforcing certain ideals, or making sure you're paying attention to teaching your kids certain things.
I've known people who came from money. Their needs were taken care of. They never had to struggle for their needs, but their parents made them work and earn their wants.
Yeah, there's
And that's
definitely a difference there.
Romina is an example. And like, there's a balance. There's a balance to, just because you have you can give your kids everything doesn't mean you have to give them everything. It just means that they never have to suffer for a lack of money. And there's a difference, because the thing is, the trauma of not having money and the mindset of poverty getting its hooks in you means that even if you are successful, take me for example, even though I'm successful, I'm like at less than half my capacity, because I refuse to take any risk, because I will never risk anything for fear of being poor again. I won't take risk. I only make calculated margins of things that are certain, and therefore I risk nothing. And he who risks nothing gains nothing. So all of my progress is painfully slow, because I can never reap the big rewards from taking big risks, because I am psychologically incapable of doing it.
Yeah, like
I'm crippled.
I
I'm
don't
Darth
talk about
Vader
this
after
much.
Mustafar having like my limbs severed and my force potential cut.
Yeah, I feel like even though I had a lot of, I mean, I was fortunate enough where that struggle didn't come into play. I mean, I never had to, fear for my life or think that I wasn't going to eat, tonight. Or I didn't know I had to, I didn't have lack of clothes. It was, everything was kind of laid out for me. But I was always interested in making my own money. And even as a child, like the first thing that I invented was I made my own bracelet business, and I sold friendship bracelets. And so I created them myself. And this was like, I was like maybe 6 or 7. And I was outside every weekend waiting for people to walk by. And I had like a sign, and it was like, yeah, it's $5.
Oh my God.
And I would sell them. I also did lemonade stands. I also created my own toy, like a prototype thing. Again, this was like before I was even 10 years old. And I made these things, and I would just sell them to people that would walk by in front of my house, in my neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, same for me. Like, I didn't have to worry about, like, you know, if dinner was gonna happen or not either, and all that sort of stuff. But like, my dad didn't come like from any sort of money at all. Like, he literally grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere in Indiana. So I feel like that sort of, him and my mom have like made sure. I feel like I haven't reflected on this too much. I feel like I'm too young to really know yet what they did exactly, but I don't know.
You're
like,
not too young. I mean, you can just,
yeah, but I guess I just haven't really thought about it too much.
Well, you're thinking about it now.
I know. On like what exactly they did to make sure that like the hard work gene was like, you know, passed on, because I don't know. I
think that if you put your kids into things that are equalizers, like sports, and things like martial arts, and things like music, even with that money and privilege, they understand a work ethic, and they understand results, and they understand competing, and they understand fighting and scrapping, because they can't just you can't throw money at something that requires skill past the point of saying you have all the resources, but if you don't work to improve and grow the little bit of talent you have, then somebody who's dirt poor can just still outperform you and outshine you, because you can't buy your way to being better. There's something real about that. You can't buy your way to being faster. You can't buy your way to those things. You can't buy your way to being a better fencer, a better martial artist. You can't do it through anything but hard work and sweat and suffering. And the thing is, that's the humbling part of it. Then there's also the fact that if you make people engage with things with teamwork, where your outcomes are dictated by how well you are part of a team, and that you may not always be fit to lead, and that you might have to accomplish your goals, acknowledge somebody else's strength. Those are things that build character and counter privilege. Because, by the way, there are plenty of people who aren't super rich that are privileged in many ways. And I think that what people do is also, people are conflating the word privilege. This is where I think people even criticize me sometimes, is I think people conflate the word privilege with comfort. When they say you're speaking from a position of privilege, what they mean is you are more comfortable than them, because you're not struggling like them. And so they are then invalidating what you say, but they're not considering this totality of your experience. And what I find is, most of the time when I hear the words privilege, it comes from people much younger than me, people not even 25 years old, who haven't lived a decade of life outside of being on their own and aside from their parents being responsible for them. I don't think they really, I hate to say it, I don't think anyone under 30 understands what privilege is. And I think it's also very hard for people who are not from a marginalized group to understand what privilege is. Privilege is not economic in its totality. Often privilege is mostly, and it used to be used this way and this was a dictionary thing, is we've changed what words mean now. That's something Joe Rogan would love to talk about, probably with Peterson. Like, privilege used to be understood to be considered an unearned advantage predicated by circumstances, not of your making, choosing, or control, usually circumstances of your birth. Meaning that if someone was giving advantages over you, or you were put at a disadvantage by circumstances of your birth rather than consequences of your choices, that is how we would define privilege, you see. Economics in its totality is not about privilege. Because the thing is, if someone is making the same money is me, but they're not a person of color, we still have a very different experience. Our experiences are not equitable just because we have the same net worth or the same income. We don't have equitable experiences. So that would still mean that despite us being both comfortable financially, they would have privileges I don't, because there are consequences for the circumstances of my birth, not dictated by the natural order, but dictated by the society that we live in. And so when people want to have a nuanced conversation about privilege, which I don't think, frankly, the far left does, I think that they don't consider the intersectionality argument, which is funny when a lot of them advocate for being allies. But in my mind, the most criticism I get about being privileged is from people who will swear up and down they're allies and will put BLM in their Twitter handle. But they will tell me, a black man in America, that I'm privileged, when the minute they make the same amount of money than me, they will have a better life than me, not an equal life to me. So, like, I don't know what they're talking about.
Allies? I think you mean ally, huh?
I see what you did there. And I didn't mean to make this political, but we were just talking about the economics of things, and it always ends up coming to that. It ends up coming to that is that people judge.
Well, I think it comes to that because it comes from truth, because it's something that you experience like daily.
Yeah.
I mean, we get text messages about it almost every day, and we're not you. So
yeah.
And I mean, I get it too from a financial standpoint, because I tweet about money and then people get upset because I tweet about money.
And then I have to cut them, like, on your behalf.
Like, what am I doing? I'm just here trying to make 5-year deals with Audrey.
You're just trying
so that she makes $30 million on TikTok.
Oh my God.
You're just trying to work hard, and you're trying to make things happen by your own hand. And you believe that you can do that. Mm-hmm. And you're being forced to take the criticism of people who have decided that they can't, who have failed to observe all the opportunities that they have, and have decided to prioritize the ones they think they've been denied. They're looking at everything they don't have or weren't handed, and they're ignoring everything and taking everything for granted right in front of them. And they just decided that they can't do any better unless things change and the system changes, and they refuse to acknowledge or consider that maybe not everything can be accomplished by changing yourself, but they've never explored how much can. They refuse to acknowledge, like, it's not about not believing the system should change and be better for people. And the thing is, they usually pull up a straw man argument and pull up some imaginary fictitious scenario of who these things need to be changed to help, but they're not really worried about that person. They're talking about themselves, and they're really thinking about themselves, and they won't admit that they're as self-interested as anybody else, because they want the entire world to stop and acknowledge their pain and hurt and to change to benefit them. And they're not acknowledging that they have the same mentality as the people that they're criticizing. They refuse to observe in themselves that same characteristic of self-interest when they ask the world to change. And they don't acknowledge that the difference between them and the people they criticize is the people they criticized actually changed things about themselves and therefore had the power to change the world.
Yeah, I think this all kind of comes back to the title of this episode, which is there comes a point where you have to make less criticisms, make more observations, and once you kind of do that, it's really kind of difficult. And I only say that from experience, because you look at what's working and what isn't.
Yes.
And sometimes what isn't working is a thing that you want to be doing.
Yes.
And you have to make a sacrifice and not do that thing in order to do more of the thing that's working.
I mean, it kind of goes to everything we've been talking about since we even started the podcast. If you think about it, as a creative person, sometimes you make sacrifices for your art and for your craft. And then sometimes as a professional or business person, you make sacrifices and creative compromises in order to have the freedom at some point to make less compromises down the road over a period of time. You make sacrifices now to not make them later, or you refuse to make sacrifices now and you pay consequences for it later. It's either way. You're making a trade. It's equivalent exchange. It's Full Metal Alchemist 101. And the funny thing is, I had to stop criticizing. I had to stop judging the world, but I also had to stop judging myself. And I had to observe the world as it is, not as I would like it to be. And I had to observe myself as I am, not as I feared I was being. You see, and that was the thing. I had to acknowledge who I actually was, not what I was afraid that I was, not the part of me that I was judging or that I decided to hate. And I had to look at myself more honestly, because I was just looking at the parts I disliked, and therefore I couldn't see enough of me to love. And that was a problem for a lot of my life. And I looked at the world through that lens as well. I looked at the ugliness and pettiness of the world and of humanity, and therefore was purposefully making myself oblivious to everything there is to love about people. And when you do that, when you embrace a perspective or a philosophy of despair, in my case, nihilism, that everything is trivial and pointless, and that all of it's irrelevant. And I had to change my perspective on that and find meaning in everything, which is the opposite. And I realized that I had to do that. I had to remember when I was happiest and when I was the most free and the most confident. And I realized that my 8 and 9-year-old self was a better version of me than I was at 20 and 25. And some people would think that's sad, but I think it's true for a lot of people, is that before you're jaded and before you have a lot of hurtful experiences, you have a more earnest and honest view of the world, because it's not tainted by your compromises and by your sacrifices, assuming you haven't been through anything too traumatic at that age, hopefully. So you can look at the world for its possibilities, and you can see the good in everyone and everything. And you don't have a reason yet at 9 or 8 years old, I hope, to hate yourself. So you probably are more correct about the way things are in so many ways at 8 or 9 years old, but you don't have the benefit of wisdom. But the thing is, I was able at some point to start to reconcile wisdom and let go of resentment to some extent, to start to find some purity and some purpose behind things and appreciate the meaning of things. But it could only happen when I looked at them honestly and not through a philosophy of despair that forced me to judge everything and everyone.
That was beautiful.
Dang.
Really, Audrey? We got to work on your vocabulary. Freaking dang. She just heard Martin Luther King Jr. talk, and she just goes, dang. That's her response to everything. Well, guys, if you want to start wrapping up this episode.
Well, I want to hear a little bit more Audrey before we end the episode.
Oh, no.
All right. A little bit more from Audrey, because we've already gone a little bit over time.
You guys putting me on the spot.
You are a co-host on this podcast. We're not putting you on the spot. You are literally a third of this.
Dude.
Romina carries this team.
Yes. Dude, I'm not as good with transitions as you are.
I disagree. I've seen you edit.
Oh my god, that's not what...
Wow, Roberto.
Wow.
You're not even a dad yet.
Roberto's got the dad jokes ready to go.
He's got the dad YouTuber jokes.
Daddy Roberto. Is that what we're
Daddy Roberto.
Daddy Roberto? Hashtag dad. Is that our new hashtag? Hashtag Daddy Roberto.
I can make.
What about Daddy Bobby?
Papa Roberto.
Papa Rob? I don't know. I feel like we gotta, make it punchy. We'll figure it out. Oh, I kind of like that. Papa Roberto. Yeah, I guess I kind of like how it looks when it's written out.
Papa Roberto.
Wait, you're not allowed to change that. Audrey, you are the center of attention right now.
No.
Wow. All right. I think that's your cue to come up with an outro, Roberto. While Audrey talks, you come up with the outro.
Oh my god.
All right, so I've come up with Audrey's nickname already for the outro. I have to work on.
Why is it the Romina show? That's not what I put.
That's what this is.
Stop. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
MG Art says people are easily offended, especially. I think that people use Twitter to vent, and I think that I used to have the opinion, and Romina knows this, I used to talk about how soft everyone is, but I disagree with that initial thesis because of my observation rather than my judgment, which was wrong, is that we have a mental health epidemic. And we haven't accounted for the fact. I used to agree with Gary Vee that social media hasn't changed us and that it's exposed us, but I disagree. It fundamentally has changed us because it's changed our psychology and our physiology. It hasn't just exposed us. Even if it was just exposing us is changing us, because when you have that, and I can say this as a public figure, when you have that level of attention, and when attention can also be commoditized, and when attention can be weaponized by you or by other people, your experiences with that at scale change you as a person. Whether that's in the form of I think to some extent, I can honestly say, I think that the level of bullying I've seen Romina get in the past year on Twitter is probably more bullying than she might have gotten at any point in school, in any given school year, or maybe even her entire, I didn't know you back in high school, Romina, but I would imagine that the last year or so on Twitter might have been equal to or greater than any time in high school.
So much more greater.
So
but because I wasn't popular enough.
You got bullied more in 1 year on Twitter than in 4 years of high school.
Yeah, in my entire school career.
Jesus.
In 18 years.
So I want everyone to, so if people think that exposes who we are and still doesn't change who we are, then I think that I understand where Gary Vee is coming from, but I would beg to differ. Neither he or I have degrees in psychology, and he has a much better grasp of human behavior than I am. And I know that part of it is rhetoric, and I know what he's trying to say and make us realize about ourselves. But I think he would agree with me that what happens to people on social media can change them as people, and that they're having more experiences and they're having them more consistently. And I think he's actually argued this point from the positive side, but I'm going to go negative. I'm going to say, for all the good and amplification of attention and all the benefits and all the values and how social media and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and podcasting can change your life and change your financial future, your opportunities, open doors, it can also psychologically change you. One, through Audrey can tell you that there are some influencers that then, because they have all this power and they have no experience in how to wield it, and they've finally been elevated, they act entitled and arrogant. So that's it's not that that's exposing who they were, it's that their environment changed and they suited their environment. So yeah, they changed. It's because they changed in relation to the opportunity and to their power. It's not that was who they were all along. It was an amplifier. It was a catalyst for one thing that was there. It's not the entirety of who they are. I mean, as much as I've criticized Logan Paul, I actually am very much a fan of his redemption story, and I've always been a fan of his work ethic. And I think that the environment changing around him of how people treated him changed him. And I think the environment of the people he chose to surround himself with changed him. And he will say for the better, I will agree, and other people will agree, But it's not that he was never a good person, that this had to be, changed. It's that he always had those things in him, and this is what was amplified because this is what was fed. So yes, social media doesn't just expose us, it changes us because it creates an environment where people that we might never encounter otherwise can feed the best in us or the worst in us. It's like there's two wolves, that whole metaphor, there's two wolves, and which one's stronger? The one you feed. But the thing is, we're not the only ones throwing out meat though. And if we put ourselves in these environments, in these public squares, as people like to call them, even though that's not what they really are, different argument. But
I don't think anybody should be throwing out meat anywhere.
But they
I mean, meat is a luxury.
True. But they are in the form of, I'm using meat as a metaphor for attention or amplification or what have you. Whatever you're rewarded for, and that's why people, if they are rewarded for their bad behavior or with attention or negative attention, even when they get none at all, that's where troll culture comes from. That's where people like Leafy and Keem come from. You
mean like Tana giving out nudes for whoever was...
Like whatever's incentivized, but think about it. Humans are self-interested. Whatever's incentivized is what people will do more of. When you get more views on a certain type of YouTube video, you make more of that YouTube video. That doesn't mean that that's all you ever were about. It's what you feel incentivized to do because you're being given some dopamine and some attention and some reward or some monetary incentive. You see what I'm saying? So but if you do a different behavior and you're rewarded with negative attention, you may not want to do that thing anymore. Just like how Amazon, kicking me out of the affiliate program, soured me on making a certain type of content, soured me on making tech reviews and videos about tech. There's things that, if things happen to you, if you have certain experiences, those experiences shape you. And social media ends up being these experiences that people have at a level that they would have never had in terms of human interaction. So I think that social media can fundamentally change us because we have different experiences and we have them more often and we have them more frequently, but we're also not necessarily getting the best of people all the time because of things like anonymity and also a lack of consequences. People behave, especially in Twitter, in a way they never would in real life because they wouldn't deal with those consequences. So it's not that I believe everyone is easily offended today and is soft and is weak. I feel there's a mental health epidemic because we never accounted for what these platforms would do in terms of making us all more addicted to them because they're designed monetarily for addiction. So we all have had the worst part of our compulsiveness and our addictive personality awakened and fed and monetized. One could make an argument exploited, and for the benefit of these.
Talk about that next time.
Sure, for the benefit of these corporations and mining our data, and then they also are creating experiences where we're psychologically impacted in ways we haven't yet measured and understand. It's even changing our physiology and the fact that our hands are adapting to these devices. You've noticed that things about your hands are different because of these devices. There's things like
Roberto, don't give too much away.
Thumbs,
next episode,
carpal tunnel, heart circulation from phone pickups.
Roberto.
There's, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think, what I'm saying is I wrongly judged everybody as being overly sensitive. I didn't account for how many invisible signals have tenderized and pounded people to the point of being more fragile. Their fragility has been manufactured by the bombardment of thousands upon thousands of ads and post in feeds and opinions they would have never been open to in an analog world. And they have that on top of what already was an epidemic and a mental health crisis manufactured by even traditional media exposure. Social media was gas on the fire. And so I already believe that in a world of consumerism that people have been tenderized and softened up and are pigs to the slaughter in that way. And I feel I was wrong to judge people as overly sensitive when they just keep getting pounded and pounded and pounded by this addiction that they've been made to feel they have to be a part of.
Okay, so Audrey was the one who was supposed to talk during that whole time.
Sorry.
Dude.
Roberto, you better have an outro. Yes, MGR. Roberto does have some valid points, but you know what Roberto doesn't have? An outro. Here, just I got fire.
Yes.
Oh, look at that. I'm the coolest human. What's that all about?
Oh my god.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
I think this is my
All right, Papa Roberto takes the stage.
Thank you for listening to the No Assembly Required podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing, filmed in front of a live YouTube audience. No viewers were harmed during the filming of this podcast, only the feelings of my co-host. Thank you for listening. Please tune in to us 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time-ish every Thursday evening where, Audrey will not talk at all during the podcast and where Roberta will talk too much and where Romina will find all the jokes. Thank you so much for listening to your trio of hosts, Audrey, Silence of the Internet Ember, Romina with the jokes, and of course your favorite Dark Lord of the interwebs, Papa Roberto. It's me, Roberto. Thank you so much for listening. We will catch you next week with a spirited discussion in which Audrey will actually talk, and it will be because she has a lot to say about social media and how it impacts our life. And so we've picked the perfect topic for her. And of course, where Romina will continue to roast me whenever she damn well pleases. And of course, where I will spare nobody's feelings because that is how your Dark Lord rolls. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Nop.